Hi, everyone. Today, I want to share a really exciting novel with you. The love between Jerome and Erica in the novel is full of ups and downs. Jerome, encouraged by Erica, faces his fears and takes part in dangerous duels. Erica supports him quietly and gives him strength. But when Jerome's ex-fiancée Mabel appears, his life is thrown into turmoil. Can Jerome make the right choice between love and duty? Let's step into this thrilling story together. Chapter 41. Jerome. The unnamed protagonist stood facing his opponent, his hands trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, threatening to crush his resolve. But as he gazed at the warrior from Erica's pack, who wore a confident smirk, he recalled the words of encouragement from Erica and her parents. Their voices echoed in his mind, urging him to believe in himself and to cast aside his self-doubt. In the past, he had always shied away from confrontation, avoiding crowds and dangerous situations. But now, with everything on the line, he knew he had to overcome his fears. The smirking warrior before him represented not just a physical challenge, but a test of his determination to fight for what he truly wanted: a life with his mate. Erica, the protagonist, took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs. He closed his eyes briefly, centering himself and drawing strength from the support of Erica and her family. When he opened them again, a newfound determination blazed in his gaze. He realized that this moment was a turning point in his life. No longer would he cower or retreat from challenges. He was ready to fight, to push himself beyond his limits, to prove that he was worthy of Erica and the life they could have together. As he faced his opponent, the protagonist felt a transformation taking place within him. The nervous, self-doubting man was giving way to someone braver, someone willing to risk everything for love. He knew that losing this duel would have dire consequences, but he refused to let that fear paralyze him. Instead, he channeled it into a fierce determination to succeed. With another deep breath, the protagonist fueled himself for the battle ahead. He was no longer just fighting for himself, but for a future with Erica. The thought of her gave him strength, pushing away the last vestiges of doubt. As he locked eyes with his smirking opponent, he silently vowed to give everything he had in this duel. Win or lose, he would face this challenge head-on, marking a new chapter in his life, one where he stood up for himself and fought for what he believed in. You can now begin. And note that if one does not give up easily, then the other person is given the chance to go for till death fight. And nobody is going to be responsible for the death of the person. Anyone who is out of the ring is the loser, the head counsel said, and I feel my blood went dry cold. I knew that this looked like some plan which was to eliminate me, but then I knew that there was no way you would have wanted me dead because we have never met before. Nor do I do something to warrant all this. I could feel the head counsel smirk while looking at me, and I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I forced myself to believe that this has nothing to do with anything except that he was looking out for Erica. I knew that there must be a reason, but I shrugged it off my mind, knowing help matters. I stared at him for a while, forgetting that I was in a fight against someone. I was distracted from the fight when I was brought back by a punch which sent me flying backwards. I could hear the audience cheering at what just happened. I stood up with an angry look on my face, and I turned to look at where Erica was seated. She had a pitiful look on her face, and I knew that she was close to tears, but I tried hard to concentrate on what was in my front, but I couldn't, because every moment I tried to concentrate, her pitiful look always appeared on my mind. I closed my eyes while breathing heavily and tried to breathe in. After a while, I was back to my senses. I opened my eyes to see the warrior advancing toward me with a punch which I dodged at the nick of time. I turned back, grabbing his arm, and I twisted it with full force, but he was able to get his hands from mine. He stared at me angrily, and before I could see it coming, he punched my face with so much force that I fell down like a log of wood. My nose was hurting, and I couldn't help but wonder if I would be able to win any of the duels. And then I remembered Derek's father's words. He told me not to make my win in the duel look like luck. I knew that I would have to follow all his procedures to win. I knew that things won't be easy since I was down with just a punch from a warrior. I wonder if I will pass out due to a punch from an alpha. I have made up my mind to do just as he has informed me because I heard from Erica that he was a great fighter who went to different wars before he retired from the alpha position. I knew that if I'm to use his procedures, then I'm likely to win. I couldn't help but wish for my Lycan's power to be activated easily. I knew that if that was to be activated, then I would be able to win the duel. This duel was to be in human form, and even if anybody is to transform into his wolf form, then the person is out of the duel. I haven't been able to contact my wolf after my first transformation, but I was able to have a peek of my wolf size, but I was so small in my wolf form. I was glad that we weren't told to fight in wolf, for more things would have gotten bad. And I knew that the Werewolf Council would deem me weak to even contest for this. I have never shifted after my first transformation with fear of people seeing me in my wolf's form. I have always wanted to hide my wolf from others. I stood up from where I laid with pain erupting through my body. I could feel my whole body in pain. I sighed heavily, looking at the warrior who was in front of me with a glaring look on his face. He had a victorious smile on his face, and I knew with no doubt that he wasn't expecting anything from me. I knew that this is my chance and that if I don't strike now, then it won't be easy to win against him. I rushed toward him with a new burst of energy flowing through my veins. He was surprised with that and wanted to kick me, but I ducked the kick. I grabbed his leg and I punched him in his stomach. He fell to the ground groaning in pain, and I wanted to punch him again, but he grabbed my hand with an angry look on his face. He glared at me hatefully, and with that he stood up from the ground with my hand still in his hold. He plunged me to the ground and sat on my body. He punched my face angrily, and he did that continuously. I groaned in pain as I tried hard to wriggle free from him, which seemed almost impossible. I breathed heavily with a face filled with blood after I was able to escape from his punch and grip. I rushed toward him angrily, but this time carefully, not wanting to make any mistakes. I grabbed his head and I hit it on my leg angrily. I carried him with little effort and I threw him away, and he hit it back on the walls of the thick leather rubber which was used as the bars of place. I rushed toward him and I pushed him away from the box. I couldn't help but wonder why I hadn't thought of that before. I knew that I wouldn't have been hurt like this if I had done that earlier. I knew that it would have gone well if I had done that earlier. It slipped my mind, but now did I remember that. I sighed heavily while wiping off the blood that was on my face. I turned to look at where Erica was and I could see her smiling. I could read through her and I can feel that the smile was a sad one. Jerome won the fight, the head counsel said, and one would hear the sarcasm in his voice. And I couldn't help but feel the feeling I had earlier resurfaced. I could hear the cheering of the pack members and the crowd as I walked out of the ring. I could see the warrior who was now on his feet glaring dangerously at me. He walked toward me and I sighed heavily, not knowing what to expect from him. Don't be happy for winning against me. You don't know what's coming your way. You might have defeated me, which is nothing but pure luck, but you can't defeat any of the alphas, I heard him say, and I rolled my eyes tiredly. I walked away from the warrior weakly with my whole body hurting, and all I cared about at that moment was to have a cold bath. My face was hurting me the most. I wanted to have a good rest so that no one would disturb me. Where do you think you are going? I heard a voice said behind me, and I turned to look at the person, and it turned out to be Alpha Steven. I knew he was up to no good until I heard a voice through the megaphone. Chapter 40 to Erica. It's sad in my heart as I watched my mate fighting in a duel. My heart hurts as I stare at him in the ring. Unable to do a thing. I would have gotten into the ring by now to stop the duel if I had the power. I don't have the power or the authority to question the council of the werewolf, and it hurt me. This would be the first time I would be wishing I had more power and authority over some set of people. I haven't for once thought of being part of the werewolf councils, but I now do. I knew that if I was one of the werewolf council, or probably the head of the werewolf council, then I would have stopped this fight. I knew that things won't be easy, but I didn't expect what I was seeing. My dad had reassured me that he would definitely win the fight, and I was rest assured at first, not until I saw what was happening inside the ring. I was seated with those with high authority and same with some alphas, and I was given a clear view of what's happening. I could feel my eyes almost bulging out in shock. My heart was racing as I saw him go against one of my pack warriors. It hasn't come to me that one of my pack members wanted to be with me. I knew that none of them have the guts to propose their love to me or say it to my ear. I should have known that the particular warrior had his eyes on me but couldn't say it because I was his alpha. I knew that he must have taken this as an opportunity to propose his love. And I knew that this will also apply to other alphas who are uninterested in talking to me about their feelings until now. I knew that many more of my warriors would still be interested in me but didn't have the mind to go into the ring to fight. They all knew that I don't like cowards who fail to show his or her prowess, and me seeing them getting defeated is one of it. I knew that somewhere I was afraid of getting defeated in front of others, and most especially because they knew they wouldn't be able to stand against alphas. They knew that winning against an alpha isn't easy. None of them have ever tried getting in a duel with me. I only have duels with my beta and gamma. They are the ones who I have always had duels with. Alpha. I heard Victoria's voice from behind and I turned to look at her with raised eyebrows. You don't need to get worked up. Things would definitely happen the way the moon goddess wants. There is no way the moon goddess would want you both apart even after pairing the both of you together. All you have to do is put fate in him. I heard her whisper into my ear and I sighed heavily while nodding my head to her words. Thanks. I feel better, I said as I stared at her with a thankful smile on my face. I turned to look at Jerome only to see him engaging in a fight with the warrior. I felt my heart almost jump out of my chest as I saw him being beaten by the warrior. I felt my throat go dry and all I could think of at that moment was to find ways to cancel the duel. I knew that he might be hurt while fighting, but I wasn't expecting all this. I knew things won't go as I had planned in my head. I planned it out that he won't be hurt while fighting, and the only thing that will happen while the duel is still on us is nothing but him winning against them all, even though I knew that he had no strength to that extent. I knew that he can't take on me even though I'm lenient, but I thought he would be able to go against them. I sighed heavily, almost close to tears, as I watched his face being battered by the warrior. My eyes were filled with tears which were at the brim of falling down when I saw him get back on his feet. I was glad for that, but I don't know what would happen. The crowds were going crazy while shouting and chanting for the warrior to win. I knew that there was no way he would be able to beat an alpha in a duel without anybody's help, and I doubt if he will be able to win against the warrior he was fighting against. I knew that this might seem like him degrading my mate, but it isn't. I have made some calculations on who he can win against, and who he can't win against. I knew that if it was others that their face was being battered, then the person would have given up, but he didn't, that I fear that he might get killed. I knew that he wouldn't give up so easily, and that is what I feared. I knew that he won't be able to fight them off and might end up losing his life. I knew that fighting an alpha isn't going to be easy and he might get killed during that. My heart was beating rapidly as I stared at him as he carried the pack warrior, throwing him out of her ring. I knew that was the only thing that can happen for anybody to win easily, and I doubt if the alphas would give him the chance. I knew that the alphas would want to humiliate him in front of the whole pack to see how weak my mate is. I knew they wouldn't throw him out of the ring, but instead they would want him to give up, and I knew that he wouldn't, which might have cost him his life. I knew that things won't end up as easily as I thought. My eyes were frowned with no expectations for my mate. I knew that if he was to back down during a fight it won't be good. And I won't be happy about it and more sad. If he was to continue and end up being killed during a fight, then it would hurt me and I would never forgive whoever the person is. I would make sure I fight the person and make the person pay. Jerome won the fight. I heard the head of the council declare, and I was about walking toward him when I saw the pack warrior whom he just won the fight against. He whispered some things into his ear and I felt his body stiffens. I knew that whatever he said to him isn't something pleasant, but as I was about to walk to him when I heard the voice of the head of the council saying, "You should get ready for the next fight. Remember, it's per person. You can get the rest you want after the fight." My heart suddenly froze for a moment, and my eyes glazed over, not knowing what to do or say. My heart starts pounding heavily and my feet feel heavy to carry. I knew that this was how the duel should be carried out, but I had no problem with it at first, not until now. I can see that he needs to rest to be able to recuperate, but it doesn't look like he would get one soon. I felt my heart cease working and I turned to look at the head of the werewolf council with a disdainful look in my heart. I could feel myself hating the head council, and I stared at him with hatred. I walked back to my seat dejectedly with a sad look on my face. I knew that there was a slim chance of him winning against an alpha. My eyes were red with anger as I couldn't help but feel toward the head of the council. I feel that he was doing all this purposely, and he turned to look at me with a smirk. Alpha Erica agreed to that. You should get into the ring. I heard him say to Jerome, who looked like someone whose color had been drained from his body. His body looked pale, and the only thing which made his body lively was the blood which spilled on his lips. His eyes were weak, and I could feel that he was fighting to stay conscious. He turned to look at me with a disbelief look on his face, which soon morphed into anger. I knew that he must have been angry for what he just heard, and I couldn't help but feel guilty for what I did. Victoria turned to look at eyes, and I felt more guilty for that. I knew that all this wouldn't have happened if I had checked all the procedures of the duel. I knew for a fact that things wouldn't have turned out like this if I hadn't been careless. My heart ached as I saw the way I was being stared at by my parents. It wasn't intentional. I agreed to every procedure without reading through it, I said with a sad look on my face. I had thought that the procedures weren't bad and that it would bring no harm to Jerome, not until I saw what just happened. I happened to glance through it and I accepted without thinking. I had thought that it only had to do with him being scared of letting me film into the wrong hands. Chapter 43, Unknown POV. It was fun watching the way he was being beaten. One would see the determination to win in his eyes. I knew for a fact that if things aren't taken care of, then things might escalate. And he might win. I don't want him to have the slightest chance of winning. I knew that winning is one ticket to get what I don't want him to. It won't be easy to get what I want from him again. It will be hard, and I don't want that to happen. I knew that things not being as good as it was before isn't going to help things. I am so close to getting what I want from him, and I would do anything at all costs to get that from him. It only remains a matter of time before things get as I want. And I don't want him spoiling my plans of getting to what I want. It would only take me for more years to get to what I want, and him spoiling it now isn't going to be a good thing. I will make sure I get whatever I want, even if he proves to be stubborn. I will make sure I get it, even if it means killing him. I have been refraining myself from doing that since because of a promise, but I think it will be better if I do so. I had thought that he would stay as silent as he was in his old pack with his fiancée, but all that stopped because of Erica. I know that there are many ways to exact my revenge on her, but I don't want to. I feel myself not wanting to make that happen. I knew that this might have been because she was the only child of her parents and there would be no one to succeed them, but I knew that was stopping me. There would be no one to suspect me, and if I get her killed, it would be hard for anyone to believe that I'm in cohort with those that kill her, and most especially that I was the one who ordered them to do so. I knew that it would sound lame to people's hearing, and they might have thought it was just a rumor from those who want me to be away from my position. I knew that everyone knew of the fact that there was no one as of high standard to have competitors, but someone who would have competitors, but someone who had the guts to do so definitely want to visit early grave. I want to make sure that he be apart from Erica for years, and for him to go back to his fiancée might not want to accept him back. I knew that there is a lot of things hidden about me to people, and I want it to stay like that. I wouldn't want to lose my position in the werewolf kingdom. I knew that one with a high standard can't lose his or her position without the other being as strong and powerful as him. I knew that him being with Erica is endangering me. It might get the things that I don't want to leaked out. I knew that him dangerous being with her isn't something good. I have planned everything out, and I bet it would work, and it wouldn't be long before he gets back to his feet. I stared at both of them with a satisfactory smirk on my face. I was so excited to know that my plans would soon be setting in, and it won't take long for me to get back all what I'm about to lose. I knew that Erica was someone who is smart, and she might easily see through everything, thereby making things difficult for me, which I don't want. I wasn't happy with the way Jerome won against the pack warrior from Erica's pack. I felt bad that someone as strong and great as that who can't get things done. I had thought that he would be a piece of cake to them. I knew that if none of the warriors can do the job, then the alphas can do so. I have known for the past month that Erica might want him to be safe, which I don't want, and I knew with no doubt that she must be responsible for what just happened not too long. I knew that she must have taught him all what he knew. I knew that him staying longer with Erica would be extremely dangerous, and it will cause. I stared at the rain while watching Jerome and the pack warrior, who were glaring at each other venomous lie. And I could tell that the other warrior is ready to attack him. The pack warrior was angry with him for defeating one of them so easily, and I knew that it won't be long before he will be down. A satisfactory smile was on my face as I watched as he was being tackled to the ground. I turned to look at Erica, who seemed to be at the brink of tears. And I knew that if anything was to happen, then she would burst out into tears, which I doubt she will want the pack members to see. I knew it would be hard for someone like her to cry in public. I was amused with everything, and one thing I knew for sure is the pack members would be amused if they heard her cry. and most especially if they found out that she was crying because of her weak mate. I knew that it would be a way to criticize Erica, and then it would be easy to move on from him. I knew that it might not be easy, but that's what it is. And there is no going back. I was staring at the both of them, but Jerome didn't make any efforts to take the winning lead, but all of a sudden the unexpected happened, but left me brawling in shock. Jerome was able to win against the carried his opponent and threw him out of the box. I knew with no doubt that such Schulten had been allowed in the duel in the first place. I couldn't believe that he would win so easily like he had done the first time. I was definitely not expecting him to win using the same method he used earlier. I was shocked to see him outsmart his opponents, and I couldn't out but wish I could join them to win in the duel, but I wasn't interested in Erica or I would have joined in the duel. Chapter 44 Jerome. I was shocked that I will have to fight another person in the duel, and I could feel my heart beating fast. My eyes were red with unshed tears. I knew for a fact that there would be no way I will be able to win in the fight, but I promised myself not to give up easily with that. I had made my promise, but there was no way I'm going to break it. It came as a huge shock to me after knowing that Erica had approved of me fighting twice, and not only me but others also. She knew that I'm not that strong enough to go against people at the same time, but she doesn't seem to care. All that was on my mind was that she didn't care what happened to me during the fight, but she only wanted me to win. She wanted me to prove how strong I am to others. She wanted to flaunt me by doing that, but what I wasn't expecting is that she would do something like this. It hurt me to know that Erica is aware of this and she even allowed it. I have always thought that she would try to help me whenever I'm in need of something, but this seems to be wrong. This was proven by this duel. I feel mad and all I could think of right now is to quit, but I knew that I have gone too far for me to quit. It would be better if I were to win the duel and be able to be with her, but I won't. I would make her pay for what she has done to me. She isn't going to go scot-free. I have always thought she cared about me by worrying, but she went ahead to accept the terms of the duel without checking it out. What does she think she was doing when she did that? I was glad that I was able to win the duel against the next warrior I was to fight. It wasn't a good fight like you would have thought, but it was hard. It wasn't easy for me to throw the warrior out of the ring so he could win. The warrior was a tough opponent, even more tougher than the first one. It wasn't easy, but I was glad I won. I knew that winning in the duel is nothing but just a step in countless steps. It would be hard for me to be able to win against Talfus, but I'm ready to try. I knew that in my next duel I will be made to go up against an alpha, which won't be as good as it was now. I know that there is no way I will be able to avoid getting hurt. I knew that I would have to fight to be with my mate. I may be angry about the decision Erica made, but that doesn't make me stop caring about her. I knew that what she had done must have been because she wanted to get over with the duel as quickly as she could, and that she forgot to look at the terms to know what is allowed and what isn't. I knew that the chance of me winning even when the fight isn't twice is something. I knew that I have to take advantage of every situation. I can't make Steven feel bad about not teaching me well. I knew that he wouldn't be happy with the way I was being beaten, but I couldn't help it. I knew that he wouldn't be happy seeing that all the time he spent on me while we were training went to waste. He wouldn't be happy to see that I couldn't end up with his daughter after all that training I had with him. I was glad that everything went well, but I knew that it won't be as easy as this. I knew I will have to be more cautious tomorrow. I knew that I would have to wash away all the blood stains on my body. There is no way I will be able to find out what would happen tomorrow other than for me to watch how the alphas fight. I knew that watching them fight is nothing and that helped me in winning, but it might help. I staggered into my room while breathing heavily. Blood was covering my face that all I met on my way, ran away. I knew that Erica won't be happy watching the match and same with her parents. I knew that the duel I had with her this morning should have taught me something. And that's not to care about my opponent because they might use that as their ticket to winning against me. I knew that if I was to relent on strength, then I would be getting nowhere because I was told by Erica that I was weak. And I knew she was right the moment I was fighting the warriors. I saw that my strength was nothing compared to theirs. I wished that I had their strength. I knew that throwing them out of the ring isn't easy, as I have always done. I knew that if I was to face the warriors with my strength, then I would be dead, so I had no choice other than to use the disgraceful win. You might be wondering why I called it a disgraceful win. It was because I didn't work hard for it, and it only proved how much of a coward I am. I knew that the people weren't happy with the way I won. I knew that they all now know me as a coward. What was I expecting? Isn't it clear to me that even if I won this duel and I managed to win against all the alphas I was told to fight by throwing them out of the ring, but the truth still remains the same. I will forever be a coward because I didn't win that through hard work, but I don't care. I knew that me being known as a coward who won against alphas is still better than for me to be known as someone who lost his wife to someone else in a duel. I walked out of the house with a deep sigh, all staring left and right to know if I will see Erica. I had thought that she would have come to my room, but she surprised me by not coming. I had seen her walk toward me before I was called back into the ring. I couldn't help but wonder why she isn't here yet. I was back to myself now, and all I could think of right now is Erica and tomorrow's duel. I couldn't help but think that something had happened that made her stay, but nevertheless am going to the place to watch the duel. I want to be confident about myself and not be scared of losing again. I knew that failure isn't something good, nor does it mean that one would die, but one can still get back up after failing. But I knew that the moment I lose against someone in this duel is the moment I won't be able to be with my head was filled with different thoughts, and with that I made my way toward the direction where the duel was taking place. As I was walking with a foggy head, I was not concentrating on where I was going until I stumbled upon someone. The person was about to fall down when I used my hands to grab her by her waist. The person turned out to be a girl, and I could smell a familiar cologne on her body. "You should be careful next time," I said to the girl without looking at her, but my eyes were opened with shock immediately. I saw who it was. The person turned out to be Mabel. My body was filled with shock, and I could feel my stomach crumble with nervousness. Staring at her, unable to say a thing. She stared back at me with an angry look on her face. Her eyes were glowing brightly, and I knew with no doubt that she was angry. "Mabel, what are you doing here?" I asked while trying to keep my calm with a straight look on my face. It might have been easy for me to break off the engagement with her over a letter, but it isn't easy for me to break off the engagement with her here. My throat went dry immediately, not knowing what to say. I knew that this would have been the most happy day for her if it was that I had broken off the engagement. I knew that she would have been more than happy to come to this pack to see me, but she seemed sad. I couldn't help but feel angry at myself for causing all this, but there was no way I could stop it. Chapter 45. Mabel. It hurt me to take the most huge step in life. I knew that I shouldn't have made up my mind to come to Eric as pack, but I have no choice. I wanted to know and confirm if what I heard from Jerome was right. I knew that it was so lame of him to break off the engagement over a letter. I wanted to believe that he was the one I was sending letters to all this while. I have no reason to believe what was written in the letter, since I haven't confirmed it was him. I knew that the reply I was waiting for and wanted to hear was that he would say he isn't the one who wrote it, but someone else. I prayed and hoped that he doesn't know anything about the letter. I would be glad for that, but hearing the news and rumors traveling all over the pack makes me want to believe, but I had to hold on to my trust that he was aware. I knew that the reply I might receive from him while we met isn't going to be a pleasant one, but I was ready to hear it. I knew that if it was all wrong, then I had made a huge mistake by sleeping with the pack members in the cave, but there was nothing I could do about it again. I knew that the letter must have come from him because of the way he wrote it, but I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe that it came from him because the truth hurts. I was glad that I was able to come, and I was able to come to this pack because by the head council. It was said that anyone can come but with the approval of their alpha. And I was glad to be able to get the approval of my alpha, but it wasn't as easy as it is. It wasn't easy to persuade me because he kept insisting that I tell him the reason I wanted to come to this pack, which I had no other option than to tell him. He told me not to come, but I was adamant even after seeing the truth in front of me. The reason why I still believe that he hasn't cancelled our engagement is because he hasn't said that to my face, and there was 50% of the letter not written by him, because anyone could easily hijack the letter from the bird, even though we knew it can't be possible. I was searched thoroughly before I could enter. The pack, the security was tight also, that one can barely sneak in or out. I didn't take anything that could warrant me not entering or being held hostage by them, because I knew the implications behind it. I was shocked to see that Jerome was just like it was said by them. He participated in the duel, and he ended up being beaten. He didn't give up, and with the way he fought, one would know that he had been training. I couldn't help but wonder if he was forced into all this. And even though I knew that the answer was no, I still managed to hold up on my belief that he doesn't want all this willingly. And I pray that he would agree to abscond with me. I knew that it might sound lame for me to suggest that we both escape from this pack, but that's how desperate I am. I knew from the start that there would be no way for us to be together after he was taken away, but I still managed to hold up my belief. He walked out of the ring while bleeding heavily. He seems to be unaware that I was in the pack. I knew that if it was before then, he would have sensed my presence because of what we shared. It all seems to have vanished, which also proved that all this was right. I could see the determination to win in his eyes, and with that I knew that it was getting proven. The trust I had in him was decreasing already, and all I can feel now is nothing but panic. I made my way out of the crowd as quickly as I could to be able to see him. I knew that he would be shocked to see me. I was sad that I wouldn't be able to see him anymore. I was sad and devastated about the whole thing, that I stood on the same spot I was while trying to find where he went. I knew that I won't be able to see him if I keep staying on the spot. I knew with no doing that he went to wash off the blood that covered him from head to toe. I was shocked to see him fighting off the warriors, and also scared that he might lose his life, but that doesn't matter to me at that moment. I was surprised to see him win, but I knew that it was just the beginning, because I can see some people with dangerous auras glaring at him dangerously like they wanted to kill him. I knew that if those were given a chance to fight with him then, and it is likely they would kill him. I was pleased that he was ready to fight even after hearing the rules of the duel. I knew that he might lose his life because whatever he sets his eyes on with determination, he isn't going to give up easily and might not give up. I was concentrating on what I was doing, so I ended up walking around in circles. I knew that if I kept standing there, he might have walked away from there, and I might not be able to find him until the next day when the match would commence. I was going to allow that. I was going to talk some sense into his head for him to know what he was doing. I was going to allow him to put himself in some kind of trouble, even though he doesn't care about me anymore if what is written in the letter was true. I knew that there was no way the letter would be lying to us, because I can remember that it was his handwriting that was found on each letter, or was he forced to write that? After minutes of walking around, I was back to my senses, and all I could think of was to find him. I was thinking of a way to find him when I suddenly remembered that I could do so through his scent. I knew that I was too worked up about him to have forgotten that I can find him by his scent. I focused on my surroundings, and all I could smell was flowers. And with that I opened my eyes immediately while staring around, only to find out that I was in somewhere that looked like a garden. I couldn't help but chuckle at how I was easily lost in the place. I knew that I should have focused on my environment when I was walking. I closed my eyes and eyed to find his scent, and this time, I was able to do so. I smile sadly even with the thought that it might be all true. I haven't for once doubted him, but now I do. I felt like he would surprise me with his behavior, but what I got next shocked me. I was still waking with my eyes closed while trying to locate him when I stumbled upon someone. And I tripped immediately. I would have been able to find him with his scent without focusing too much like I do if I wasn't an omega. Alphas don't need high concentration to find someone with the use of our scent because of their breed. I almost fell, and I closed my eyes tightly while expecting myself to fall, but I didn't. I felt my heart stop beating instantly. I felt all my muscle loosen up immediately. I felt the hold of the person on me. I felt safe that nothing would happen to me. I knew that whosoever the person is surely the right one for me, because I have not felt like this before with my mate, even with Jerome. I peered open my eyes, and it turned out to be Jerome. I was shocked to my bone marrow. He was staring at me because his mind seemed to be somewhere else. He didn't know it was me, and I used that opportunity to stare at him. It turned out that he had changed his clothes, and all the wounds on his body had vanished. And no one would believe that he was wounded minutes ago. I stared at his face for a while, and I felt myself bringing my lips to his. He had turned to look at me. I had forgotten that he was still holding firmly onto my waist until he put me down gently. "Mabel, what are you doing here?" Jerome asked, and I felt heartbroken at his question. Chapter 46. "Mabel, you are asking about what I'm doing here?" I asked angrily while staring at him. The pain I was feeling in my heart vanished immediately. I couldn't believe that he would say a thing like this. He isn't the same person I know. If it was the same person I know, then he won't be saying this. "Are you the one who wrote those letters to me?" I asked while staring at him curiously. I knew it was dumb of me to ask such a question, but I want to confirm it even after knowing that I will be hurt more if I were to hear him say that. "Mabel, you shouldn't be here," Jerome replied while staring at me calmly. I felt my anger rise to my perk. I felt my heart break into pieces like it was pierced by a sharp edge of sword. I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to find ways to lure me away from asking my question. He was trying to find ways to avoid the question. I knew that he does this whenever he is hiding something from me. I felt hurt to know this. It wasn't as I wanted, but there was nothing I could do about it. Don't you dare try to avoid my question. Are you the one who replied to all those letters? I asked with a raised voice. I stared at him angrily while expecting an answer from him. My eyes were filled with unshed tears as I stared at him. My heart was in a lot of pain, but I tried hard to hide it. Yes, I was the one who has been replying to all your letters, he said while staring at me with a sad look on his face. And I chuckled. It hurt more to hear this from you. I should have believed Sandra right from the onset. She warned me, but I didn't listen. I said, and alone tears escaped out of my eyes as I stared at him with hurt visibly written in my eyes. It's more to hear you say this. I have always believed that you can't do something like this. But I'm totally wrong. All that was a plot from you. I said, and I let all the tears I had been holding fall freely. I'm sorry, but I don't mean to hurt you. It was my intention, but the truth will always remain the same. I can't keep on misleading you, nor do I want to lie to you about all this. But everything in the letter was written by me, he said plainly while staring at me. He doesn't look like someone who is remorseful at all. He seems to be okay with the situation. I felt more hurt to know this. My heart raced and it kept thumping against my chest. I felt my throat go dry. I could feel my eyes getting more moist. Why? I felt angry all of a sudden. I felt angry that he would do such a thing. I trusted him so much, and even though I was aware of all this, it hurt more when I could see the truth, but I didn't need to be told by him. I felt the feeling of hatred consuming me, but I tried hard to control myself. I won't want to fight him because of Erica, but I will do everything in my power to get back at him. He would pay for toying with my feelings. You should get over, he said and turned to leave, but I stopped him. I knew that if I was to get rid of the feelings I have for him, then I would have him say all that he wrote in the letter. You think it's going to be easy? Hun, you don't care about anything other than yourself. You should know it won't be easy to get rid of the feelings I have for you, I said, and he stopped on his track before turning to look at me with a confused look on his face. You should get rid of it before it consumes you. And you will become obsessed, which I don't want. I still take you as a friend. And I also want you to do the same, he said, and I sighed heavily while trying to keep my calm. Can you say all what you wrote in the letter? I said while staring at him pleadingly. I knew for the fact that it would help me get over him, but it would hurt me more. What do you mean? I won't want to make you get more hurt by saying that. It would be cruel of me to say so, he replied while staring at me with a concerned look in his eyes. One would think that all what he is doing is genuine if the person doesn't know him. If you really want me to get over you, then you will do that, I replied with a determined look on my face. I was ready to do everything in my power to get over him as quickly as I could. I knew that if I was to get back at him, then I would have to get rid of all my feelings. Fine then. Remember, you asked for this, he replied with a stern look on his face. And I felt bad about all this. Deep down I'd want to get over him, but there is nothing I can do other than to get over him. I have been advised by Sandra to tell her over him, and him saying this also made me want to get over him. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but there was nothing I could do about it. If I really want my revenge, then I will have to get over him to be able to do so. If I still have feelings for him, it won't be easy for me to extract my revenge on him because it will be hard, since I will be wallowing with tears and will be heartbroken. Mabel, I know this might hurt you, but all that I have for you in the past was nothing but pity. I only wanted to help you feel better as your friend. All what I said to you in the past was nothing but lies, he said, and I felt my heart stop beating instantly. My eyes suddenly became red and I felt tears streaming down my eyes. My eyes were heavy and I could feel my heart being shred to pieces by him. I feel my tongue get stuck in my mouth. My eyes were wide open as I wallowed in pain. This pain is much more different and more painful than the one I felt when my mate rejected me. It was like I was being stabbed all over my body with swords. My heart was in so much pain, and I fall on my knees. I know I have fallen in love with him, but I don't expect this to be this painful. I knew that the pain inflicted on my heart by mate who rejected me has been reopened by Jerome, and not only that, he has made it more painful by stabbing it. Are you all right? Jerome asked as he walked up to me while trying to help me up. I staggered backward while trying to move away from him. I have been through a lot of pain in the hands of Jerome. I don't want to feel more. I knew that him wanting to stay as my best friend is okay with him, but it isn't. It hurt me to know he would be with another lady except for me. It hurts me to know I will have to watch him be with another girl from afar. Let me help you, he said with an insistent look in his eyes, and I felt my heart throb with pain as I stared at him. You don't have to. You can go to where you are off to before stumbling across me, I said with a pained voice, and he sighed heavily before replying. It is what friends do. Friends help each other, he said, and I felt my throat go dry and I could feel tears threatening to fall from my eyes, and I did my best in holding it in. He was stretching his hand to help me up when he stopped all of a sudden after hearing Erica's voice. He seemed to be in a daze as he stared at me. Jerome, this is where you are, I heard Erica's voice say, and I felt my heart drop. I felt my heart throb with more pain, and I clenched onto my heart with pain. Pain was evident in my eyes. Chapter 47. Erica. I couldn't leave the arena immediately because I was being held down by my father, who told me to wait a little for Jerome to change, but I kept having conflicted feelings about all this. I feel like the moon goddess was trying to punish me by making me his mate. It hurt me to know that my mate is someone weak, and not only that, most of the pack members were all aware of this, and even outsiders knew about it. I knew that I shouldn't be thinking like this, but I felt like things would go wrong while he would be fighting tomorrow. I knew that there is still much more time before tomorrow, but I seem impatient. I have conflicted feelings on what if he fails. I felt my heart hurt knowing that I might lose him to Mabel tomorrow if he is weak. I couldn't help but think he was doing all this intentionally. I knew that he had broken off their engagement over a letter, but that doesn't mean that they can't get together again. I knew if things were to get out of control, then he would get back to her, and I don't want that. I don't want things to go that way because I can't afford to lose him to his fiancée again. I knew that if things don't go as planned, then I will have to do possible that I can to make him mine. I think it will be better if I go against the Werewolf Council than to lose my mate. I won't ever allow them to dedicate my life for me. They should know their stand in things like this. I knew that all I was doing was part of rebelling against the moon goddess, but all I wanted was a peaceful life with my mate. I knew that they might not do anything to me and will still make me marry the person who won the duel. I knew that if Jerome isn't going to win the duel, then it has to be one of the neighboring alphas. I stared around the place with my eyes wide open to know if I would be able to spot Mabel. I knew that I shouldn't be shocked when I saw her among the crowd because it's likely for her to come. I knew she would want to use the opportunity to see Jerome, and me not being that he is with her. I knew that she is someone who is cunning and might try to act funny around him, which I don't want. Dad, I need to go see Jerome. He might not be all right. It has been long since he left, and he has returned, I said with a worried look on my face. I knew that it might sound like I want to be the end of my mate, but the truth is that I don't want to be his end. I knew that Mabel might be trying to make him withdraw himself from the duel, which I should have done. I won't want him to follow her words. I knew this might be an act of selfishness, but there was nothing I could do about it. All I want is to have a lovely and peaceful life with my mate, but the Werewolf Council chose to disagree with that. I knew to them it might seem like they were looking out for me, but the truth is that they aren't. Being selfish isn't what I like or what I do, but this isn't something I can go easy on. I knew that it's likely for him to win or lose, but I don't want him to lose. I want him to be with me forever. I knew that if he happens to lose, then I will be disappointed about the whole thing. I have made up my mind to train him tonight, and same with my dad. We would try to make sure he is able to go against an alpha. I knew that he would still be able to put up a tough fight against the alpha, then he might be able to weaken the alpha for him to throw him out of the ring. You can leave, but make sure you return as quick as you can for us to study those he will be up to tomorrow. I heard my dad said, and I sighed heavily before replying. Thanks, Dad. I muttered to him, and I walked away from the gathering, who were busy cheering about the fight going on. I walked toward his room and I pushed the door open, only to be met with nothingness. The room was empty and it was void of his presence, which means that he must have left the room earlier. I sniffed in the air trying to find where he was since he wasn't in his room. I knew that he must have been with Mabel since he wasn't in the room. I tracked down his scent and it led me to the garden, and I couldn't help but wonder if he was actually with her or not. I walked toward the place where his scent led me to when I found him squatting down in front of Mabel, who seemed to be in a lot of pain. I felt my heart race with fear, not knowing what to do. The fear I was feeling subsides, and that was when I was able to think properly. I stared at them from afar, not bothering to listen to their conversation. I couldn't help but wonder what was happening. I felt like he was trying to play some kind of mind trick with me, which I don't like. I stared at them for a while and I decided to listen up to their conversation, but they didn't say a thing. I stared at them keenly, not knowing what was happening. I thought I had been caught by them, not until I saw him wanting to help her up. I knew that this might have been one of her plots, but I won't let that happen. I will spoil whatever plan she has. Jerome, this is where you are, I said while glaring hard at Mabel, whose gaze turned into a sad one, and it soon morphed to that of anger. I have been searching for you since, but I couldn't find you, I said while staring at him suspiciously. You should go with her, I heard Mabel said weakly, and I saw him walk toward me. I felt a little awkward, not knowing what to say. It felt like I have done something bad, which I don't know. You mean to see this? I said to him, and he sighed heavily before turning to Mabel. I'm sorry. I need to go. See you around, he said, and he turned to look at me with a smile on his face. I felt anger boiling in me, not knowing what to say or do. I felt like all he was doing was nothing but an act of deceit. I walked away from the garden to the direction of the packed square where the duel is taking place. He followed me behind while snaking his arms around my waist. A frown was plastered on my face as soon as we were far from the garden. Where are we going? Jerome asked, and I glared at him angrily while breaking myself off his grip. You seem to be getting along. If I wasn't there on time, things would have been closer to her. All that is nothing, but she is only trying to get close to you, I said with jealousy visibly written in my eyes. You don't have to worry. Wait. Don't tell me you are jealous, Jerome said with a chuckle, and I rolled my eyes angrily. You think I don't know what she is thinking? I'm a woman like her. I know what she is up to, I shouted at him. It isn't what you were thinking. She just wants to get over me, he said, and I scoffed with an eye roll. She wants to make you feel guilty, and then she will use the medium to get close to you. I won't force you into doing anything. Good luck with her, I yelled angrily, and I walked away, leaving her alone. Chapter 48. Mabel. I was left in the garden in pain, and all I could do was nothing but stare at her. I feel my heart thumping heavily, and tears fall freely from my eyes. I couldn't believe that Erica was this cruel. I knew she was in pain, but she didn't care about me. I knew that she sees me as a rival, but that doesn't mean she should have left him. I had thought that Jerome would try to stay with me, but he didn't. I feel my heart ache with that. My eyes were puffy red due to the fact that I had been crying for some minutes now. I could feel my body shivering from the fact that I was left alone. I felt like I had been abandoned by him, and I knew that was the truth. There was nothing else I could do other than for me to sit down. I sat there for a while, and I suddenly started shivering again, and this time it was much worse than the first time. My lips were becoming pale, and all I did was curl myself up in a corner. All what had happened earlier keeps replaying in my head. I felt my heart ache. I sat there for what seemed like hours, and by that time the sun was up and the cold I was feeling earlier was gone. My eyes were still red, but I knew I had to do something. I have to leave this pack for good. And by the time I'm about to return, then I will have my revenge. None of them would go scot-free. They will both pay for humiliating me. They made me seem like a fool. They didn't know what would happen. They would be shocked if I was to get my revenge, but first I need to go back home to clear my head. I stood up from the floor and I staggered up with full force. My eyes lit up as I stared around the place. The place looked refreshing. I couldn't help but admire the place. I didn't have the time to admire the place earlier, but now I do. A sad smile was plastered on my face as I stared around the place, and it soon vanished and it morphed into that of anger. My eyes were filled with anger as the thought hit me. I couldn't believe that I was admiring what was done by Erica. I knew that this isn't supposed to be it, but I can't help myself. I feel like everything that Erica does isn't supposed to make me feel happy. I should feel angry whenever I see her or Jerome. I won't ever allow him to be with me even if he loses in the duel. I knew that he was going to lose eventually, since there are alphas contesting in the duel wanting to be her mate. I knew that he would be hurt in the end, but I doubt if he will ever listen to me. I knew for a fact that he isn't someone who listens easily, and that was what made me not to persuade him. It will look like him so desperate, and I know that he can say whatever he wants, but there is no way I'm going to let that get to me. I knew I would look cheap in his eyes, but I couldn't let anything happen to him. I knew that he wouldn't give up easily, even if he was to be beaten to death in the duel, which I don't want. No matter how angry I am, there is no way I would want to kill him, but I can still hurt him. There are many ways for me to hurt him without having to kill him, and that's what I'm going to do. I will make sure I make him go through the same pain I went through. And there is nothing anybody will do about it. I will make sure he regrets ever making me cry. I knew that my words may sound cruel, but I was blinded by my anger. The hurt I was feeling had changed to hatred and anger, which seems to be more fueled. I walked toward the packed square where the duel was taking place. I walked into the crowd and I sat down quietly with anger. Anybody who sets his or her eyes on me will see how angry I am. I watched the alphas fight and I couldn't help but smile in satisfaction, knowing that he would get hurt. I knew that there was no way he would be able to escape being hurt, and it made me feel more happy. I knew that whatever I feel right now can't be compared to what I will feel when I get my revenge personally. My eyes were filled with disgust. I couldn't help but feel the need to be here tomorrow. I knew the fact that if I was to be here it would be a lot more fun. I stood up from the crowd, and by that time it was evening already and the duel had come to an end. There are only a handful of alphas left, and one would see that they aren't much. I knew that those that remain are nothing but strong alphas. Their glare was like it could take someone 6 feet under the ground. I knew things might get out of hand, but I knew there is nothing I can do about it. I knew that even if I have the power to stop it now, there is no way I will accept that. I will make sure that they both stay apart. I stood up and I walked out of the pack square, heading toward the pack's border to leave for my pact, when I felt the presence of someone behind me. I couldn't help but feel worried. I knew that the person might be Jerome, and I thought that he was here to apologize. I kept on walking, showcasing my anger, but the person kept on trailing me, that I thought the person was Jerome. I knew that I had no reason to be trailed by someone unless the person was Jerome. Don't think I will forgive too easily. You should know me better than anyone, I said, even though I have no intentions of forgiving him, but my body was saying something different. I could feel goosebumps on my body, but I didn't pay attention to it. My face turned red like a tomato. I couldn't help but blush deeply, not knowing what to say or do. I turned back after seeing he was not replying, with my face being tainted red. And my face dropped immediately after seeing who it was. The person who has been stalking me isn't Jerome, but someone else. My heart was filled with disappointment. My eyes were filled with unshed tears as I stared at the person curiously. You seem to be waiting for Jerome, the man asked, and I stared at him confused, not knowing what to do or say. I felt my tongue being tied together. I came to inform you that Jerome's life is in danger. He will lose his life tomorrow. You should do your way by persuading him, I heard him say, and I sighed heavily, knowing he was right, but I couldn't help but wonder why he was saying all this. I stared at the person and I could see some familiarity in his eyes. I tried hard to remember his face, and then a gasp escaped my mouth. I bowed my head immediately with fear. The person was one of the Werewolf Council, and I could feel shrill s of fear run down my spine. Good evening, I muttered with fear etched on my face as I bowed my head. I knew that I could be dead any second from now because I didn't respect him as a superior. I knew that things might get complicated and my alpha would be put into trouble. Alpha Raymond, who also happens to be my alpha, had told me that I shouldn't cause any problems that may reflect on him while I'm here, and I knew that this is one of them. I knew that if things get out of hand, then I might be getting killed, and not only that, my alpha would be put into trouble. Don't worry. All you have to do is follow my order. You should go warn him about this, and it's left to him. He replied, and I rolled my eyes before I could stop myself. I can't do that. He has hurt me and I don't want to have anything to do with him. I will be happy for his downfall, I said to him with my head bowed. My gaze hardened. Are you trying to defy my order? He asked accusingly, and I sighed heavily. I won't dare try to defy your order. I will get that done now, I said, and I turned to leave, but he stopped me with his words. You should report back to me. I will be here waiting, he said, and I hurriedly walked away from him, and when I was away from him, I breathed heavily. I tried hard to concentrate on his sentence. I was glad to find him so easily. He happens to be with Erica at the garden where he had left me in the afternoon. Jerome, we need to talk. I said to him immediately I got to where he was totally ignoring Eric as existence.